Sleep time's over. Kevin the Catalyst, DJ Zach Morris. Season 8. Special guest.
He's here.
He's here.
Rob DeMello is here.
Yeah.
Rob DeMello, thank you very much, sir. Exactly. KHON's own.
Yeah.
Sportscaster.
The man.
Oh, okay.
Right?
How about that?
I like this. Yeah, I gotta change my business card.
You know, you just want to write it for you.
Yeah.
Write some stuff for you.
I mean, you're also the host of Cover 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
We gotta go with
Was
that.
that your? Did you collaborate that, or was it kind of off of your?
Yeah, you know, when I was at KITV, before I got to KHON, we did Blitz 4. It was Robert Kikaula, myself, and so when I came to KHON 2, there was a couple years in between that. We had new management coming into town, and they said they wanted a new sports show, like a half-hour show, and they wanted to bring back Hawaii Sports Final. I don't know if you
Bob Hogue.
Bob Hogue,
Shout out Bob Hogue.
John Veneri.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I told our new boss that, you know, I just don't know if that show still works, because I don't know if you guys remember what Hawaii Sports Final was a recap of the whole week.
Right.
You know, and I said, you know, with social media today, is that if someone missed the news or someone missed a story, like they have all the time in the world. It's all on demand to go and end up watching it. So taking all the stories you did and redoing it on a Sunday night just seems like that's what social media is.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what your station website is. So
like George Michael's Sports
Yes,
Machine.
yeah, exactly. And so she told me to try to come up with something else. And so in that meeting, I said, you know, I think there's a void in high school football, and you know, everyone does the night of highlights, but no one does a preview show. No one gets people excited for it and lets people know who the players' names are and what the stories are. And I think that just helps build the support of high school football, because if you're out of the high school scene, a lot of times you root on your community because that's your community, right? It's like, oh, I'm a Kailua grad, so go Surf Riders.
Yeah.
But when you start learning about the coaches and the players, then it just adds more, and maybe you're more likely to go to a game or watch it on OC16 or whatever it is, right? And so, came up with the idea right there of doing a preview show. Came up with the name in that meeting right there, and then everything kind of took off from there. And did it for 5 years. We're entering season 6 here in September. So.
Wow! Congratulations on
that.
I'll tell you what.
Do you get paid extra?
No, it's
creating his content for them.
I'm under a salary contract, so it's so no OT. I'm ineligible for overtime.
No time and a half.
Sam Spangler, who I worked with for a long time, he just moved to the Big Island, but he was eligible for overtime. So the position I have, you can't get overtime, because I think at the end of the day, they view it, or corporate views it as, I'm the head of the department, so no one can make me work extra hours. I'm doing that because I want to do it for the department.
This is good. This is insider information. No one talks about this.
I gotta know, bro. I gotta know.
So I don't get paid extra for doing it, but when my contract comes up, then that's something that I have to negotiate with. Hey, I just did Cover 2, right? So I've had a couple contracts since we started Cover 2, and I'm being taken care of, so yeah.
There you go.
So when is Rob DeMello a free agent? What years does free agency come up?
Next summer.
Oh, there we go.
We're planning it. We're going to have the special. We're gonna be like, where do you go?
Yeah, we should do this.
We're going to set it up right in the store. Where's DeMello going to go?
And we'll call up all the new stations. Everybody come in.
I'm taking my talents to Light Sleeper.
Wow.
That might be
groundbreaking.
We're starting a whole new network.
Call him Neil Everett and get the highlight. Wow, so let's take it from the beginning.
That's awesome.
Well, speaking of Neil Everett, you was that your start as an intern?
So crazy. I hope you have time, because this is a story and a half. When I was 15 years old, I going to Kailua High School, wasn't the best student. I struggled in school, got into a lot of trouble, and I had a friend that was a couple years older than me that was about to go to college. He's going to Bradley University in Illinois, and for one of his graduation gifts, his family got him this thing at an auction where you can meet the KGMB crew behind the scenes, go out to dinner with them, and so Kim Janala was the lead of that. She was like the host of this thing, and my friend Nathaniel Conley just brought me because he was like, hey, I know that you want to be a sportscaster, because ever since I was 5 years old, I was telling everyone that I want to be a sportscaster when I get older, and So he brought me along, and in this dinner meeting with Kim Janala, I'm talking story with her. She was the weather person at the time at KGMB, and she had asked me, "What do you want to do when you get older?" And I said, "Oh, I really want to be a sportscaster in Hawaii. That's all I ever wanted to do." And so she said, like, there's something about you. I really like you. Do you know who Neil Everett is? And I was like, yeah, I know who Neil is. And she said, well, maybe you can come by and hang out with him one day, just the two of you, and you can see what the job is really about. And so I was like, yeah, okay, here's my number. Never thought I'd hear from her again. And 2 days later, phone rings, it's Kim, and she said, hey, I talked to Neil, and Neil said, if you're serious about this, you call him yourself. So I remember being super nervous and being like, oh, Mr. Everett, Rob from Kailua. And so he told me to come by. It was like a random Tuesday. And he said, hey, come hang out with me all day on this Tuesday.
What did you do during that day?
So I just pretty much shadowed him, and we talked story the whole time and just telling me what he's doing. And really, we just kind of getting to know each other. We just talking story. And at the end of the night, right, it's time for me to go home. And he says, man, I really like you. You can come back next week if you want. And so I was like, yeah, okay. So I came back the next week, and we continued to talk more, and he got to find out a little bit more about me and that I was struggling in school. I think it came up because he had asked me a question about college, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to college. Like, I had like a 1.4 GPA, and I had failed 9th grade, and so I had to go to summer school to get to 10th grade, and so this was my 10th grade year that I met him. And he had told me that, okay, here's the deal. You show me your grade checks. You do a grade check. You show me your grades every month. And for that, all that time is that if you improve your grades, then you can keep coming back. And so that's how it started. Was I was going to come back once a week, every week, for as long as I kept my grades up.
That's cool.
And then it ended up being twice a week. And by the time I graduated, so that was entering my sophomore year of high school. I graduated my senior year with a 3.8 GPA.
Hey.
I got a full ride to HPU to do journalism. And that was right around the time Neil moved to ESPN. And so I went to school for my freshman year at HPU. And then that summer, Robert Kikaula gave me an offer to come work at KITV because I had been around, right? Everyone knew me.
Yeah.
I was this kid that was just always around. And so he brought me into KITV, and at the time it was Robert was the sports director, obviously Kanoa Leahy was weekend, and I was the number 3 guy. And the hours are brutal. That you work from morning to night, and so I couldn't keep up with school, and so I kind of made a leap of faith and said, like, hey, this is what I'm going to school for. I'm just gonna put everything into this job that Kikaula gave me and see what I can do with it. And luckily it all worked out, and so I left school. I don't suggest that to everybody, but it worked out for me. And so I was 19 years old when I started at KITV.
Wow.
I started reporting at 20. I started anchoring at 21. And then, here I am.
That's crazy.
35 years old. And it all started really, with Kim Janala even. And I've thanked her so many times. And she's out of the business now, so I don't get to see her too much. But if it wasn't for that night, Kim, even just taking the time to even talk to Neil about, hey, I met this kid that's really interested in Hawaii sportscasting, then none of this would have happened. And then obviously Neil took me under his wing the way he did. The guy is a saint. I still talk to him at least every week, and almost multiple times.
And so no opportunities of you going over?
I have no desire.
You have no desire?
I have no desire. I've had opportunities to go work on the West Coast. There's markets, I think because a lot of people don't know what I am ethnicity-wise. Right. Wherever I go, I'm like kind of ambiguous, right? So on the West Coast, I'm Mexican. On the East Coast, I'm Cuban. I went to Toronto, I was Indian, and so so that's kind of a valuable thing for anyone that wants to work in other markets. But this is all I ever wanted to do is not only did as a kid that I say I want to be a sportscaster. I want to be a sportscaster in Hawaii, and not only that, I wanted to work at KHON.
Wow.
I wanted to be Les Kiter, right? And so there's nowhere I'd rather do this job or nowhere I would do this job. That for as long as I'm a sportscaster, I'll do it here. And if I ever go anywhere else or anything, it won't be for this job because I just wouldn't have the passion and pride you know, the sacrifices you got to make, you know, in this business that I just couldn't make if I wasn't doing this.
Right.
So this is it. This is the dream job is here.
Yep, the dream job is here,
Yeah.
and that was the crazy thing is that, you know, I number one, I always wanted to be a dad, right? I just wanted to be a father. I have 2 beautiful kids, happy and healthy, and so that was number one, and number 2 was wanting to be a Hawaii sportscaster, and so I'm doing it. So now the dream is to just do it the best of my abilities and keep getting better, and try to change the market in a way, or you know, or where it's local only and local first, and you're covering Hawaii athletes, and because I'm super passionate about that, where, you know, in this job with ESPN and social media and all that,
Right.
I mean, people could get national stuff from anywhere.
Exactly right.
And not only can they get it anywhere, they can get it better because people that are working on the continental U.S. have better resources, better access. If you're working for ESPN, you know, you can go and interview LeBron James about this game.
Yeah.
Who in Hawaii is going to be like, hey, I want to know what happened with LeBron? I'm going to watch Rob because I just did the same thing you did. I just watched the game, you know, where when it comes to Hawaii athletes or Hawaii teams, now that's where we can give you something really good because I have that access. I have that knowledge, and you know, I want to change the game where everybody is doing that, where you know, it becomes that Hawaii sports fans become more knowledgeable about Hawaii sports, and I can help them in that.
That only builds the brand of Hawaii sports.
Exactly, and so that's why too is, you know, you have all these other things that are coming out, and like Scoring Live, right? That, you know, I love it. I love it. You know, a lot of people see competition in new people coming into the market or other TV stations. I mean, the saddest thing that happened to our industry was when KHNL and KGMB merged, and you know, made that conglomerate. Is because that just took away one more TV station, and so I mean, I want everyone to be watching KHON. I want everyone to be watching KHON2 Sports. But if you're watching another one, hey, you're still watching Hawaii sports, and if you're getting super into Hawaii sports, then you're just going to need more and more of it. And so one day you're going to find yourself to me. And you know, and that's where it is. You just work hard enough to where that one day that someone watches you, that hopefully you can get them to stick around.
So you basically try to make the best product. So when people have to decide, I want to watch sports, it's gonna be.
Exactly. You know, years ago, there was there's ratings periods, right? November, May, February, and that's when you get judged. You know, by the Nielsen ratings, and people have the logs that they fill out. And so when I first got into this business, people made a really big deal about, hey, it's May, make sure that, and I mean, even when I was 19 years old and I first got into the business, I used to ask around and be like, wait, why don't we just do this every day? Because people are judging you in May, but if they're not watching you in February, then they ain't gonna help you in May. You know what I mean? So, so that's always been my philosophy, was treat every day like you're being judged on this day, and so. If you do that, then you ain't gotta worry. You know, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. You put yourself in the best position possible to succeed in this business if you just grind every day.
Did you ever think so you wanted to be a sportscaster, did you ever think you'd take it the next level and be the director? Or the head?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. You know, that was the dream, was to, you know, I mean, funny, Joe Moore was the guy when I was growing up, so that was the dream, was to sit next to Joe. And so the fact that I'm doing that now is really cool.
That leads me to one of my questions is, how was your first meeting with Joe Moore? Being that Joe Moore is like,
so you have to meet somebody, then to meet Joe Moore.
So the great thing is Joe's super intimidating figure because he's Joe.
He's a legend.
He's larger than life, you know, in multiple ways. He's a big dude too.
He's tall
and he's in shape, man. I mean, he's an older dude, but he's in good shape, and so a lot of people are super intimidated by it. I was fortunate Joe was one of the people that brought me into KHON. When I was at KITV and John Veneri was leaving to take a marketing job within KHON, Kanoa was the sports director and my best friend, and so Kanoa wanted me to come, obviously, and at the time the general manager is this guy from New York. And he didn't really vibe. He didn't want me to come over. He was just like, that's not really what I had in mind. Like, you know, you see Kanoa, he's this big dude, and he looks the part. And you know, for me, like, you know, I'm not that typical sports guy. I have that booming voice, and you know, and so the GM at the time was just like, nah, he's good at his job, but that's just not that's not who I envisioned.
Yeah.
And so Kanoa was kind of just like, oh, well, I don't know what to do. And so it just came up in conversation with Joe, where Joe had asked, hey, what are you going to do when John leaves? And Kanoa had told Joe, like, well, we're trying to get Rob DeMello over from KITV, but I don't think it's going to work out. And so Joe from there kind of just went to bat for me and said, there's nobody else I want, so we need him. And I mean, and then the process after that was pretty quick. So so because Joe kind of brought me in, there wasn't that feeling out process. There wasn't him testing you and all
Does
that.
Does he do that to?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I seen him snap live on there, and I love it. I'm like, dude, Joe Moore just called the audible.
Yeah, no,
like,
Joe's
what?
the man.
There's a lot of audibles on that
You're
show.
like, what?
And when you're Joe, you can do it.
Right? Yeah.
Like, because he's real, man.
Yeah.
He's and yeah, when I remember it was the change over to HD, and there was a lot of technical difficulties, and that's when keeping it real goes wrong, man. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, but Joe's the man.
That's cool.
Awesome working with him.
So you kind of just glided in there, like
with
Joe Moore, like.
Yeah.
But you seen him kind of check people, kind of do the
touring.
touring.
Hey, you gotta give the man his respect, and you know, I've never seen him be mean to anyone, blatantly mean. When I was coming in, there were stories, but I haven't seen it, and I'm next to him every day, and you know, and so yeah, I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about Joe Moore.
So right now, Joe Moore, I mean, off the subject, was he acting like more? He's not on air too much.
Yeah, well, he just does the 5:30 and the 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So the national news, and then the 6 o'clock news, and the 6 o'clock, that's his baby. That's That's our big show, and then Howard Dashevsky, Mercer, and Yamani do the 9 and the 10. So he's cutting back, and I mean, inevitably, one day he won't be there anymore, and I hope that day is a long time from now.
So who's the Joe? So who do you consider the Joe Moore, the next Joe Moore?
I don't know, man.
Do you think? I mean, of course, no one can be the next Joe Moore. Like no one can be the next Les Kiter.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like that's when Joe Moore says I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna act and chill out.
I think we're just gonna have to wait and see. You know, because if you remember,
Rob DeMello.
No, that ain't me. I'd be in sports, man. Wait, but he played the music, so I guess so. I gotta follow through now.
He's edging you on.
But yeah. I mean, you know, Joe was a sports guy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone could have predicted that Joe would become the most iconic news person ever when he was just a sportscaster at KGMB. So, you know, that same thing could happen, you know, with someone that maybe hasn't even gone on air in Hawaii yet. We'll see.
I was going to say, it might not be even somebody we've even seen yet.
Right.
Because, I mean, he's quite frankly the realest guy. We've growing up, well around the same age.
Yeah.
Well, most straightforward guy that was ever on local television, really, the news, as far as, because you see a lot of guys come and go, but that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it really is, man.
He's the cleanest, bro. He's so clean.
Yeah, he's Joe, man.
Shoot.
Like, that's... And everyone has their styles, and everyone has the things that separate them from everybody else. And the great thing about Joe is the way Joe did it, no one can try and recreate that. That was just, I mean, you just gotta let it go. Like, no one go try to be Joe. You just be yourself. And then at that time of this world socially and whatever, then people might relate to that. And so that's where I feel like we haven't even seen the next Joe yet, is because this world's changing so much that someone's gonna have to be different, and maybe we haven't even seen it yet. Yeah,
very much so. Well, speaking of being different as well, like as far as like sportscasting goes, KHNL and KGMB they recently got rid of their sports section, and it's pretty much just a straightforward show.
Yeah.
Where you guys are keeping now sports with Rob Bell. What is your take on that? Do you think that helps or hurts the industry?
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe diverts people more to you. Because they want to now see the straightforward local sports.
Yeah, I mean, either way you look at it, you know, I can't affect it. So, you know, you just do the best you can, and either you're giving people the best option available, which is great, or whatever. But I think that it's an interesting dynamic because there's still sports at HNN. It's just not put into a sports cast, right? So they still do their report, but they're treated more like a news reporter now. So like a news reporter will do that one story in a day, and then, you know, and so they'll still air it, but it's just not done in a sports cast. And, you know, the way I see it, and the way I've always seen it, is if you do it right, then your sportscast isn't just sports. If you do it right, your sportscast is a current event story of Hawaii. It
definitely.
becomes news because you're covering local people and local teams.
Yeah.
You're covering things that affect Hawaii people. And say what you will about, oh, this person's not a sports fan, or like, I don't watch sports. I mean, my mom doesn't watch sports.
Right.
But if Max Holloway is about to fight, she's interested. And she
Yeah.
can't even like
Right.
MMA because this is just a, Hawaiian
The
boy.
Hawaii guy.
Yeah.
You know, and so if you put in the work and you put in the effort and you just are passionate and prideful about it, you can do stories that are going to relate to everyone, whether you're a sports fan or not.
Right.
And that's always been my take, to where for as long as you have people that feel that way, and I feel like there's always a place for a sportscast in Hawaii, because even the reasoning given is that people get their sports news from Facebook and from Twitter.
Right.
And,
Like you mentioned.
you know, you could say that about anything.
Hungry Hawaiian.
You could say that about, you know, the fire down the street or the car accident right outside.
Right.
Or, you know, people are going to go to Twitter, but are they going to get the responsible, ethical, you know, not just people throwing stuff out there
Right.
and throwing names out there and put, you know, you're going to get, what the news provides is something you can trust. Where Facebook and Twitter and all that, I mean, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think, like I said, if you're going to say that about sports, you can say that about news and weather. I don't agree with it, but I don't work there, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a little odd, right? I mean, right? Like it's especially for the fact that you have a lot of local content that you could be pushing out there, and to build the brand of. Well, because like another thing, like growing up,
Right.
we would always watch KHNL, Jim Leahy,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Of
follow
course.
UH Sports, know all the guys, know all the players.
Yeah.
Things have kind of weaned in the past several years,
Yeah.
where the fan base, as you know, is not as strong, football especially.
Right.
Yeah.
It's only fitting that you do something of this nature
Well,
to build the brand
That's
of
why
Hawaii.
I think like UH Sports is not covered enough. That's why the fans look. It's like you gotta educate the fans on all news platforms. 'Cause remember in UH, even when UH was down, everybody still knew who the players were.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because every news channel covered it.
I mean,
Right.
you look at those years, right? Like those Von Oppen years.
Yeah.
You know, Eddie Kleneski was the
Oh, yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That was my guy, right?
Yeah.
And the guy in his career maybe won
Yeah.
5 games
Yeah.
or something like that.
Exactly.
And but everyone knew who he was. Everyone
Yeah.
respected him. And yeah, I mean, it's a different world. You know, there's a lot more to do now. There's a lot more to preoccupy your time.
Yeah.
You know, back then, if you weren't going to UH football on a Saturday night, what were you doing?
Right.
Now, I mean, there's just so much to do, and so you got to win.
Yeah, you gotta
If you
win.
win, people will come.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how it is. I mean, the same thing, you know, for you look at mixed martial arts in
Right.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Let's use that as a topic, where icon sport back in the day,
I
right?
don't talk about icon sport.
Yeah, 8,000 people at
Right,
the
yeah,
Blaisdell,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
really what that was they used this marketing idea of, okay, we have all these local fighters,
Right.
talented, we've always had talent here in Hawaii,